Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Kara Wang about the Calm Beyond, which is going to be available VOD March 29th. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I mean, I talked to you. We it's almost like we did like the pre-interview before the official interview, right?
That always happens, because we get on, we do tech check, and then, the questions come out, and we're like, wait, there's so much to talk about, but we probably should save it, but we can't stop.
Absolutely. Well, this movie's intense. Like, I don't think there's much more to say about it. You do an amazing job in it. I mean, this is an intense film. This is a film where it's like relied on you a lot because of the situation and everything. So I'm just curious, like, that seems to be a challenge on its own, basically, this type of film, right? What was it like kind of playing this character where you're relied on a lot in this film, Kara?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it was when people ask me about the film, I always kind of say, I'm like, it's kind of like a cross between like Castaway and like Waterworld with like elements of Mad Max, kind of.
Yeah.
But the part you're talking about is kind of the Castaway part where it is me for basically the first 40 pages of the script. Just me, myself, and I trying to, figure it out in this moments of isolation, trauma, guilt, all these themes, underlying themes. But it was a really great experience. And I had a lot of good support from cast and crew over in Hong Kong. We shot the film fully in Hong Kong.
Wow.
And I just wanted to make sure I brought the character to justice because the main character of Asha, who I play, was based off of the director's own personal experience of going through cancer. And that's where he came up with this character. And so I had a lot of support from Josh as well. He would kind of share with me his experience, and that was very, very helpful.
You also, this wasn't your first time working with Josh. You worked on a short film with him as well, right?
Correct. Yes,
so
that's right.
I'm just that always interests me because you look at like short films. I mean, I guess depending on the scripts and like the shoots and everything, they're gonna be different experiences. But like, what was this experience like with Josh compared to your short film? I mean, obviously, like the stakes are higher. It's a bigger kind of, but like, what was that like? Did it feel like the same? Like, what was that like? Kind of working with him with the short and now with this project?
Oh, it was a completely different experience.
Yeah,
because the short film that I worked with him on was actually a corporate short film. I mean, he definitely brought his spin to it. It was, a proper 15-minute short film. It wasn't a commercial. But, there was a client and there was ad agency and there were so many other things to consider, besides the story.
Yep.
Versus this film was his very first feature. He came up with the story and also worked on the script. And it was such a personal experience for him. And I feel like for the feature, we were just so much more, we had so much more freedom to play with it when it comes to artistically, because the short film kind of was a little bit more on the corporate side.
100%.
And so this experience was completely different. And we fully just were allowed to immerse ourselves in the world.
I feel like this is an interesting film because movies are escapism. So you're going in and you're making this film, so people be on the edge of their seat and enjoy it. But there's a lot of messages here. There's a lot of important things. There's a lot of heavy things as well. So it's kind of one of those films that has the survivalist aspect. So it does have those moments where you're like, oh God, like what's happening? You know what I mean?
Right.
I couldn't even, I just reenact what it's like watching this film, right? Because sometimes you don't even know what to say.
Right.
But like, it's like a little bit of a two-headed monster here a little bit, Kara, in terms of like the takeaways of this film, right? Because you want people to kind of enjoy it in the sense of the edge of your seat escapism, but there's a lot to unpack here. So what's that mindset like for you as well?
It's been so interesting because we shot this film in 2019, mid 2019, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, before the shitstorm of the last 2 years has happened. And obviously nobody had any idea that was going to happen. And now the film is coming out in 2022. And truly, I feel like the film hits differently.
Yep.
Because when we shot it, these themes of isolation and trauma and all these things, people have experienced it. But now I feel like the world has universally experienced these themes in a way that would not have been understood in 2019.
And it's so weird because there was a few movies that came out. So like the pandemic like was March 2020, so to speak, but like there were some movies that came out like a year like last year or even like 8 months
and all of these
yeah,
like
you know what I mean?
films. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was like, oh, was it too soon and everything? And now it's like you watch. First of all, you know this. Like the pandemic feels like it was ages ago.
Totally, 100%. Pandemic what?
Yeah, like it's. I did an interview recently with someone where I had him on the show February 2021, like last year, and I had him on this year. And it was 1 year ago, and I interviewed him like a couple weeks ago, and it felt like it was like 5 years ago. Like it was so weird.
Isn't that crazy? Time has just been crazy during this time. It's flying, but it's also feels like things have been stretched out to the nth degree. Right?
I know it is. It is so crazy, and yeah, I mean it's just crazy, and it's funny too because we talked about the pre-interview. That was a good pre-interview. It wasn't recorded, so no one will see it, but it's for us, and we know. But like, you have worked on a lot of projects. You go and you wrap projects, then you're kind of playing the waiting game because there's delays and season premieres of shows, like release dates and everything. Are you getting used to that landscape a little bit? Obviously, it's been a lot different, and I feel like you have to get used to it with the pandemic with all the delays.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's one of those things where, a lot of people say like being an actor sometimes can feel so passive because we're constantly waiting. Yeah. Like waiting is just our life.
And you don't know what's going on. People think
we know nothing. We know nothing. We're waiting for the audition. Then we're waiting for the callback. Then we're waiting to see if we booked it. Then we get on set and we're waiting to shoot. And then after, like you said, after we're done shooting, we're just like, well, we don't know when the film's going to come out. I guess we're just going to wait, Mm-hmm. But I think, at the end of the day, this industry, we are so, so lucky and so blessed to be doing what we're doing, to be able to, make a living off of storytelling, which is such, an honor in so many of these characters that we're allowed to take on and to tell these stories and to know that if this character, this story can be hitting somebody anywhere in the world and have them, feel connected or feel represented or feel seen, then we're doing a good job. And so all the waiting basically is worth it. Hopefully.
You know what's the craziest thing right now? You literally just answered a question I was going to ask you.
I am psychic.
Because I was going to ask you about storytelling and what excites you and stuff. You kind of just answered the question. Like, that was a way.
Well, perfect. Good. We're very efficient over here. Very efficient.
Maybe you answer that in the pre-interview. People will never know, right?
See, we fake it till we make it, Peter. People know nothing about this pre-interview. We've hyped it up so much.
You're also in you're in Good Trouble as well.
Yes.
I love that show. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
It is the best. It is the best. Speaking of Good Trouble, season 4 is premiering this Wednesday on March 9th. So we're on season 4.
Is it cool to do interviews where, like, obviously we're talking about the Con Beyond, but you're able to kind of like plug up a project? That's a cool thing, right?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And it's crazy because I'm so excited for people to see the Con Beyond. It is truly, I mean, I can say this confidently, the project that I'm most proud of to date. Not that I don't love Good Trouble, but it is very exciting because I feel like when people see the Con Beyond, it is literally worlds apart than my character Sumi on Good Trouble. And it's very cool for people to be able to see, the different things that I'm able to do.
I feel like, I guess you could just speak for yourself. You can't speak for other storytellers, but like, I guess case by case, like, do you aspire to do that? Like, do you hope you're able to kind of play different roles? Because there's some people, maybe not typecasted, but there's some people that like, they have their thing.
Yeah, like the thing that they do so well.
But like for you specifically, like, were you hoping you were going to be able to play a lot of different roles?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I think, one of the best parts of the job is being able to step in other people's shoes and play a world from a different perspective. So I find that very, very fun.
Oh, 100%.
Sort of take on different characters and have the opportunities.
And there's it's going to be available video on demand, the Con Beyond, March 29th. Is it a crazy feeling too, where we alluded to it a little bit in the beginning of the interview. I mean, people are going to be able to see it. There's going to be a lot of kind of emotions at play and everything, but it's going to kind of be like an SOS. Like it's just going to be thrown out there and disseminated in the world. And then it's the world's decision to know in terms of what they feel about the movie. That's like a exciting feeling, but an overwhelming feeling as well, right?
Absolutely. Very exciting, very overwhelming, slightly terrifying.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, I hold this project so near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Obviously, it being my first title lead, but I care so much about the character and the project in itself and how it was made and what it stands for. And with any project, I think as an artist, when you throw out there, obviously you are throwing yourself privy to the judgments of all people in the whole world. And like I said, if I can just connect with even a couple of people, or, that little Asian girl out in Idaho who didn't think she could be an actor. I mean, that I consider a win. I consider it a
That's amazing.
success.
No, it's amazing. That it's one of you go girl. It's one of those moments.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. For a wrap up, Top Gun Maverick. Okay.
Yeah.
There's it's out there that you're in the film. It's out there that the film exists. Okay.
Yes, it exists. You heard it from me here. It exists.
Well, no, and you know what? Like, this is not my first. Like, I get it, and everything. I know, like I'm not gonna be like, well, can you tell us, like, what's happening? Like, but like more like bigger scheme of things. Are they considered a sequel? Is that what they're considering it?
Yes, they are considering it.
You're part of a sequel, one of the biggest, coolest movies of all time.
Facts.
So on the surface, I feel like it's just a nonstop mind-blowing feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not much more to say, right?
I mean, like you put it already brilliantly. The first one was, it's iconic.
It's one of the best movies of all time.
Cinema. Yes, it is American cinema. It's iconic. And it was a huge, huge honor to be able to be a part of something like this. I have friends who grew up watching this film like every day or every month, like they grew up with this film. And I watched it when I was younger as well. And that it's when you hear Top Gun, you just,
man, those Tom Cruise marathons.
You're one of those kids. You're one of those
kids. like different movies, right? Like Top Gun, and then it would be like Jerry Maguire, and then it would be Minority Report. Like, I'm telling you, it was there.
I mean, you could spend a long time watching that man's work.
But it's really cool to be like you said, like American cinema iconic. It's so amazing. I feel like there's a lot of movies out there that are just, and I'll do the interviews with some people that are involved in some movies. Like for me, like I'm a big sports movie fan, right? So like I grew up watching a movie, The Sandlot a lot growing up, right? About the kids of the baseball diamond. Yeah, totally. Interviewing some of the like original cast of that, it's kind of one of those like you are part of like history almost. Yes. You know what I mean?
100% American cinema history. I mean, this is like films that will be studied forever.
Yeah. And it's such a great cast for Top Gun Maverick. I mean, like, you got to work like Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, Danny Ramirez, who we just talked about.
Yeah.
Watch No Exit on Hulu, by the way. That's a plug.
Yes, plugging it, Danny Ramirez. He's amazing.
No, but that's really cool. And you know what? There's a lot of content out there. When it's out, and I will watch Top Gun Maverick. That's all.
Yes, fingers crossed. I'm, pretty sure it should be out this year. Yeah. I never want to say sure for sure, because like you said, things are always changing. But
it's like we said, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's such a thing. But I do feel like fans of the original will be very, very happy with this film.
That interests me. I was gonna wrap up the interview right there, but that interests me because it's not Top Gun, right? It's Top Gun Maverick, right? So I've always been a believer in anytime there's like a reboot or a sequel of something, that automatically that thing is trying to be like it's got to be its own thing,
right? Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you can kind of pay homage, have the same characters, but it's got to have its own pulse, so to speak. You know what I mean? So like you say, it's cool to hear that the original fans, but I don't think there's an issue with changing it up a little bit, adding a new spin to it, a new flavor, because it's not Top Gun, it's Top Gun Maverick. Do you agree with me a little bit there?
I absolutely agree with you. And I think you said it perfectly. It does have its own pulse, but it pays homage to the original, and it can be very nostalgic, but it's definitely not it's not a reboot. It's not the same film, just shot 20 years later.
Yeah.
It has its own story and its own pulse. But I do think, there's some incredible, scenes in the film that I think people will be very excited to see.
100%. And Kara, I want to thank you so much for coming on Popternative to chat about The Calm Beyond. This was a great chat. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so March 29th, VOD, The Calm Beyond.
Yes.
And then while we're plugging away, Good Trouble's coming back.
Good Trouble, March 9th, this Wednesday on Freeform, next day on Hulu.
Oh, that was, you had that ready to go. It was like you planned for that. And where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
For Instagram, my handle is @TheRealKaraWang. There is no fake Kara Wang. It's just the real Kara Wang. I haven't gotten to that level yet. When there's finally a fake Kara Wang handle, I'll know I've made it.
Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. You're going to be able to catch Kara Wang in The Calm Beyond, March 29th, VOD. That film is going to be available. It's a great film. Until next time, this is Kara and PD Beats, signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.